We've been lucky enough to have somebody call through and give us an overview of their current portfolio. I'm going to go through this, then look at what I'll make changes on and how they continue to grow. So this particular couple, husband and wife, have their principal place of residence. It's worth about $1.3 million. They actually have no owner-occupied debt, which is amazing. They have a $90,000 facility that they've used for one investment, $110,000 facility that they've used for another investment, and still $400,000 available there as a facility to use for future investing. They've actually got one property over here that they use Airbnb down at the beach. It's worth $1.2 million. It's got a loan of $810,000. They get roughly rent of $600 per week, and that's held in the male applicant's name. The other two investments are in both the wife's name, worth about $600,000, 0330, get $600 a week, $400,000, 0270, and $350 a week. Now the husband in this case is the main breadwinner, and he's actually across all those loans. So even though he's not on the title of both of these, he's actually on the mortgages, and we found that's really starting to limit what he can do moving forward. So at first glance, what we want to look to do is remove him off those loans. So we've done a brief servicing calculator, and his wife could actually carry that debt herself without him being there. So the first thing we'll do is we'll refinance both of those facilities just under his wife's name. So the debt there of 330 and 270 is no longer on his liability sheet, his balance assets and liabilities, which will then enable him to borrow more money. On this particular property, his wife is actually also on that loan, even though he owns the property himself in his name. We'd remove her. What that does is it actually frees up borrowing power for both applicants. He's told me his vision. His goal is to be able to get to 10 investment properties. Once he's got to that number, let time do its thing and pay them off. So I would look at this. I'd obviously have a chat with their accountant and say, moving forward, so you don't keep running out of borrowing capacity, I would be using that $400,000 to have another 90 in savings as well, and say, well, that can buy you roughly $2 million worth of assets. I will then look to set those up now moving forward in a family trust. And the reason in a family trust is that the sort of properties he's buying are either cash flow neutral or positive, or they become so very, very quickly. So as he continues to turn around and acquire those assets, he's not running out of serviceability, because when a trust borrows money, the trust is not you. So long as your assets cover the costs of holding those properties, you can continue to borrow almost unlimited capacity. So let's just pretend he set up a trust and he went out and he bought a $2 million property, just to make things simple. He'll take on a $1.6 million debt, and he'd have the deposit and the closing costs coming from the existing facilities he has, plus some available cash that he's got there as well. So the power of doing it this way, and because he's been removed from these other loans, he's now able to borrow that extra 1.6 million. But this is when buying in a trust can really be a big advantage to you moving forward. So long as it's covered himself, he goes and repeats the process a few years down the track. He no longer needs to include this debt in this serviceability, because the trust is not him and he's not the trust, and allows him to replicate the same structure over and over and over again. So thanks for seeing this through. I hope that helps. If you're somebody who'd like me to do a review on your own portfolio, send it through to us. Happy to do so.